Welcome back for another episode. Today I'll be talking about active duty versus reserve or part time duty and what's the advantages and maybe the disadvantages. So, if you're on active duty, the pros are if there's a pay issue and then because you're on active duty, they can put you in a barracks for temporarily if you live out in town, or um, they have additional resources to temporarily take care of things. Um, there's a lot of advantages. You'll never go without a meal because they have chow halls. You'll always have a roof over your head because they have barracks. And you get the holidays off. You get a consistent paycheck. If, like I said, if you have any type of paperwork issues, errors, it's all they'll get it taken care of eventually. That you might be stuck in a corner somewhere waiting for things to get resolved, but it'll get resolved. And then on top of it, you have the Medicare, and you get extra. You have all the extra benefits of pay for 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 your kids, spouse, and so forth. So there's a lot of advantages of being on active duty as far as income wise. Now, if I go over to the reserve side, you have a lot of disadvantages when it comes to the income side. So you're not guaranteed TRICARE um, or free medical, so you have to pay for it. You don't get vacation time, so you're paying for your own vacations. If there is a paperwork issue, and then it could be a long time because of you might be going from um, one drill period to the next drill period to the next drill period in order for things to get resolved. So it can take longer periods of time to resolve paperwork issues. You're not guaranteed a meal, a bed, and you're not given housing for because you have kids or a spouse. So a lot of these things you're defending for yourself, and you're not getting a steady monthly income check as far as pay every 2 weeks. You're only getting a pay when you drill, and every once in a while there will not be a drill 1 month. Um, the other drawbacks for being in the National Guard is that you can be pulled from being able to work for natural disasters, emergencies. So, emergencies can come from the state or the federal government. And this leaves you vulnerable to your employer because your employer can't guarantee if you're going to be at work on a consistent basis. And this will cause issues with your advancement in employment. If you have a business, it can shut you down during that time frame, especially if you have customers who rely on you. Um, the the other issues is you're most likely end up missing. You can miss birthdays, events to be with family at times. So if they pull you, the uh, let's say if you're going on AT, which is 2 weeks of active duty, if it's during your child's graduation, you may not be able to attend, and these is where some conflicts will come in. Um, you you can turn around and be deployed. This will cause you economic issues at home because it's not while you're gone, it's when you come back that the economic issues kick in because of now you need a paycheck. Your employer may not be able to employ you at the same status as before. So these are some of the issues that we look at with the National Guard versus the active duty side. The active duty side does win on a stability, accountability as far as pay and income. At the at the same token, additional negatives are if you get injured because you have to maintain your body to perform on the weekends. So if your body gets injured from trying to maintain it, in other words, going out for a run, you trip, you fall, you sprain your ankle, you're picking up the cost. And then at the end of the day, if there is a PT test at the end of that month, now you're 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 going to end up hurting your performance. Where if you're on active duty, once again, if you get injured because you're out there trying to maintain your shape and your physical stamina to pass these tests, something happens, the medical is covered, you still have a paycheck coming in, and if a PT test comes up, a physical test, you can turn around because it's well documented, the unit already knows, they can exempt you for a few weeks until you get proper rest. So these are some of the advantages and disadvantages. Now, there are negatives to both of them. If you have kids or a spouse, then if you get deployed, you can't bring them with you. If you have animals, you can't bring them with you. So now you have to find someone to take care of the animals if you don't have a spouse. If you have kids but no spouse, now you have to make sure that you have arrangements for someone to look over your children. And this will start to can interfere with relationships if you don't have a good solid foundation with someone. So for both of these, this is a drawback and a negative as far as foundation wise. How strong is the relationships that you have in your life if you have to pick up and go? And this is something you have to keep in the back of your mind. So from there, those are the negatives. Now I'll move into some of the positives. With the National Guard, it's normally 1 week in a month, and then 2 weeks sometime that you're on active duty. So that means that you have more time to be around your kids. You can choose where you want to live, what community, where you want to live. So you have better choices to make, and that makes life a little bit easier. It can be easier because you need to go to an event for your child. You can pick up and go. You work it out with your employers. The military is not involved as long as it doesn't fall in some time during training time with the military. You're normally good. Some of the other positives are that a lot of times if you're going to school and there is training around that interferes with your school, then the reserve side National Guard, they can work with you to turn around and move your training so that it sits outside of your school window. But it's not guaranteed, but there's a good chance. So there are some major benefits there. You're not as beholden to the military schedule, and so you're still contributing to the country, to your community. The other benefit about Reserve or National Guard, especially National Guard, is that you are serving not only the country but your local community. So they can call you up in emergencies within the local community to deliver food, get remove trees from the roads, um, to help with guiding traffic and other issues that may be going on during flood events, hurricanes, and and any other natural disaster that may occur. So that's not necessarily an advantage for you as someone being in the National Guard, but it is an advantage for the local community to have those resources there, and at least that service you're giving, you can see the immediate effect going into the community, which is a positive, especially since you live within those communities. So those are some of the advantages there. From a young person's standpoint, I don't know if I was young, if I would pick a reserve or National Guard over active duty. There are some there are some major advantages for a young person going on active duty. Uh, Better tuition assistance for college. You you know 24/7 you're being taken care of. It gives you the ability to grow up within a structure, to learn some structure where you're not going to gain that structure through the National Guard or the reserves. Therefore, hopefully, your family has given you some good structure, good guidance, and you come from a good family background that has guided you well. So those are some important things. Um, I find that normally the National Guard and the reserve side isn't going to pay you as well as active duty is, because if you're on active duty, you're in their system. So you have the housing, the medical, and all the other stuff. But as a reservist and a National Guard person, you may be driving 6 hours or more to get to the unit that you belong to. So you're paying for that gas to get there, plus all the time that you're there. So for 24/7 on, let's take a weekend. So if you start on Saturday and Sunday, you're on their schedule for that whole weekend, 24/7. When you break down the pay for that weekend, you may not even be making minimum wage. And they can keep you and they can work you that 24/7 for that time frame. So from that standpoint, you could be losing money being in the National Guard or the reserves. That's a disadvantage when you look at it economically, especially when you're paying for your gas to get to and from. You could end up paying for your food, traveling to, from, and meals while you're there, because of sometimes the food that they provide isn't the best food. So these are some of the issues that can arise. And at I can't tell you what's in the best interest for anyone, but you have to figure out what's better for you. If you're well rooted within your community, your family, in that community, it may be best for you to go into the National Guard or the reserves. If your family is not that well rooted within the community, um, there's issues within the family that could affect you economically, financially, for you to grow, to gain discipline, to start to gain your own roots within that community. Active duty may be better. So these are just some of the things to think about when you're comparing um, the active duty versus reserves and National Guard. I would not give up the amount of time that I have spent on active duty. It was a good thing for me at that point in time in my life. At the same token, being in the National Guard, I would not. I would also say the same thing. It was valuable to me at that time, and when my time was done, when I was done, and that was it. And that's that's kind of how I will leave it for you. Um, you need to make your own choices and decisions in this, and ask around, see what suits you best. With that said, I hope I give you a little bit better understanding of what's the difference between the National Guard, the reserves, and active duty. You take care. Bye.